Alright, welcome everybody to a tutorial on wow, nope, that's not what we're doing. Cut that out. We are here in our MIG-19 MiG-19 P Farmer today. I actually, so this module has a lot of bad press right now, and there are some very obvious problems with it. Lots of bugs, you know, some things that aren't modeled or mapped that should be. But, I mean, I kind of like it. I mean, it's a great looking aircraft. Look at this thing. I mean, it's so good. It played a big part of the world's history. And, I mean, I think it's pretty great. So the first thing we're gonna do is I want some rocket pods on this thing. So we're gonna go ground crew, and I want to go rearm and refuel. And I'm going to take a rocket pod here, I've never used the smoke generator. I'm not sure. I mean, that's not what today's video is. So let's just take one rocket pod.
Перезарядка по плану. Принял.
Okay, so today's video is going to be a cold start in our MiG-19. So this MiG has been sitting here in this hangar for a day or so, and it's just sitting here on the ground, and we need to get it up into the air. So I will be taking you through the entire startup sequence, where all of the switches are, where all of the buttons are, and we'll get it all set up. So waiting for the ground crew to finish putting those rocket pods on our wings, and
Командир, оружие подвешено.
So first thing we do, make sure our throttles are on idle, I apologize, the throttles are in the off position, which they are. Now we need to close our canopy, and we'll lock it. Okay. We need our battery switch on, right there. And you see we get some symbology and some lights coming on the front panel. Next thing we need to do is we need our right engine generator on, which is located right over here. Oh, that is the left generator, right engine generator on. Okay. And then we come over to here. We need our fuel pumps on. There are 4 fuel tanks. Fuel tank 4, fuel tank 3, fuel tank 2, fuel tank 1. They're all on. Now we need to turn on our extinguisher power. Extinguisher power needs to come on before we start up our engines in case we need to use it. The next thing we need to do is we need to turn on our right engine start. I'm sorry, that's just a general engine power start. So that is on, and then we're going to need to start our engine. So we need to set our right engine to idle. There we go. See how that move up? Okay, and then we need to start our right engine. Now down here are our air restart switches. But we're on the ground, so we need the ground start switches. So we're going to get where we can see this and our button. So we're going to click and push and hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Off. Close the cover. We can see that the engine's coming up nicely. We'll wait for the RPMs to settle in idle mode. We've got our right engine warning light is gone off now, and our hydraulic pressure is coming up, so everything's looking very nicely. We're just waiting for that to settle into where it wants to be. Looking pretty good right there. Pretty good, pretty stable. Hydraulics is settling down where they should be. Okay. So now we need to do our left engine. So, left engine generator on. Okay. Then we need to set our throttle to idle. Our left engine to idle. Okay. it's not working. I'm not sure why. Let's check our controls, make sure we're pushing all of the right buttons. Throttle left idle, throttle left idle, right alt and home. I was pressing the wrong button. Okay, so left engine is set to idle, and then now we need to start it, which is this switch. We're going to go over where we can see our RPMs. We can see our right engine RPM there, our left engine here. Press and hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Off. Close the cover. And now we wait for our left engine to catch up to our right engine on idle. And our hydraulics on our left is coming up. Just wait for them to settle in, get all synchronized up and harmonized. Okay, just a few more steps in the startup procedure now. We need our taxi lights to on to taxi. Oh, no. Down for taxi. We need... That's our RWR switch. We don't need that yet. There is right here, anti-skid. Then we need our radio power, which is all over here. So we don't need the emergency power. Those are both emergency powers referred to. Radio is electric power, beacon power. Elevator control, trim system, radio navigation, pilot heating, that's emergency pilot heating there. We also need to turn on our sight heater. This one will turn our sight on. We don't want that on yet. Radar electric power. We do have rocket pods. We need our rocket pod power. Left gun power. Right gun power. Cockpit gun power. Cockpit gun camera power. And our nose gun camera power. Okay. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to pressurize our cockpit. And we're going to open our ventilation. Check that all of our circuit breakers are good and in the on position. Come over here. So we've got our rockets here, displayed here. They all look great. We're going to turn our radar to standby mode. We see that our radar is now getting power. Okay. So this is an old aircraft, and these older aircraft needed time to warm up, to get things going. So the radar, for example, takes 3 minutes to warm up. After it is warmed up, then it can be activated. Once it's activated, the scanning radar can only be powered on for 5 minutes at a time. If it is powered on for longer than 5 minutes, then it will burn out. The tracking antenna can be on for the entire duration of the flight. It is fine. But the scanning radar can only be on for 5 minutes. On for 5, off for 3. That gives it enough time to cool down. On for 5, off for 3, on for 5, off for 3. Now additionally, this radar is not pulse Doppler radar, which is what modern radars are. It is a different type of radar, and so it picks up the ground, and it can't differentiate between the ground and air targets. And so if you are flying below 2,500 feet ASL, it will pick up the ground and you'll get ground return, and I will demonstrate what that looks like. Once we get in the air, the aircraft is very loud, and so you won't be able to hear me very well. So I'm going to explain it now while we're still on the ground. So over here, we will be getting a sweep. It will go right to left. It doesn't sweep back and forth, it's only right to left. It resets and sweeps right to left. So as you see this sweeping, you'll see large sections of this radar. And this is in nautical miles, so 4 nautical miles. This little box here is the kill box, if you will, for the radar. This is, if the target is within this zone, that is where our missiles can hit it. And this is the upper limit, so this would be perfect scenario and down. This is the zone in which our missiles can see. But we can track targets 12 nautical miles away, which is actually pretty good. But if we're down flying below 2,500 feet, we will get big, like, swashes of white it will eventually take over your entire radar if you continue to go low. So there is two modes here. There's high mode and low mode. That's low mode, that's high mode. In low mode, it just turns off the tracking radar. Excuse me, the scanning radar, tracking radar only, below 2,500 feet. So this is our, if we have a target, this will show us our distance to our target. Red says you're too close to fire missiles. Yellow says that you can fire missiles, and of course white is out of range. This is our gun sight cage. We can, this is caged, this is uncaged, and this is for the gyroscope inside the targeting reticle. So if we have our gun sight on, which I'll turn on now, it should be warmed up. Yep. So if we're tracking a target with this, and our gun sight is caged, and we have our radar on, nothing will happen. So if we're pulling a turn, this won't move like it does in modern aircraft to show you where to point your nose in order to fire to get a hit on your target for the leading fire solution. But if you do have your radar on and the target is being tracked with our tracking antenna, then you can uncage your gun sight. You can see that it actually moves. You can uncage your gun sight, and this will now be free to move, and it will give you the good tracking solution like we see in modern aircraft. However, if your gun sight is uncaged and you pull more than 2 Gs, you will break the gyroscope, and then your gun sight will be locked in some weird position and totally useless. So leave it caged unless you're pulling less than 2 Gs, uncage it, use it, cage it back. Our radar is ready to be powered on now, as we see that this is here. As soon as we get into the air, we'll turn that on. So let's turn our gun sight off because we don't need it yet. And talk to the ground crew. Wheel chocks, remove.
Убрать колодки. Принял. Командир, колодки убраны.
Okay, let's throttle up. Start spooling up our engines, and now it's going to be really difficult, becoming more difficult to hear me because this aircraft is so loud. Russian aircraft have what is called differential braking, and therefore, in order to steer on the ground, you must push the brake. So, if you...
Таймер 101. Взлет.
If you push the rudder button and the rudder controls down with your feet, the aircraft will do nothing unless you also then press the brake. So it takes a little skill, and as you can see, I can use more practice. But if I look down here, you can see, so pushing the rudder button, nothing's happening. I tap that brake button there on the stick, and then we start to turn. So we should get ready and tap the brake, and that's when we turn. So very unique to Russian aircraft, but it is a skill you have to learn if you're going to fly them. A couple more things we need to do once we get out here. We're going to be ready to take off. Namely our flaps. So, okay, here we go. Turn onto the runway. Going a little quick, but that's okay. We're going to go forward just a little bit. Trying to get our aircraft lined up. Alright, brakes on. We're going to throttle down for just a second. We're going to look outside the aircraft. Appears to be working. Okay, we need to put our flaps into takeoff position, and that we see lights here saying that that's there. We'll look outside. Flaps are ready. So we're ready for takeoff. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take off. Like I said, it's gonna be really hard to hear me once we take off. So we're gonna take off. We'll climb. I will turn our gun sights on. I will turn our radar on. I will show you what it means when you're getting the ground effect from the radar. What you can see, things like that. And that's where we'll end the video. So wheel brakes on, spooling the engines. And let's go. Rotate. Gear up. The trim on this aircraft is difficult. I'm not flying this too well. Flaps are automatic, so let's just make sure, yep, flaps are up. Gain some altitude, and let's turn our radar on. Tracking it down